In a small American town during the late 19th century, a lively debate about the myth of laziness was underway. Many believed that laziness was a moral failing, while others argued it was a product of circumstances and the town's schoolteacher, Miss Eleanor, was an avid reader of recent books and historical accounts, and she often challenged her students to think critically. She would say laziness is not inherent. It is often a result of exhaustion or lack of motivation. Her classroom was decorated with sketches of famous figures who had overcome their struggles to achieve great. Among them was Abraham Lincoln, who once struggled with personal doubts and lack of formal education. The townspeople often cited him as proof that hard work and perseverance could break the cycle of laziness. In the local library, ancient newspapers and letters painted a vivid picture of life during the Gilded Age. People sacrificed tirelessly to build railroads and industries, dispelling the myth that Americans were inherently lazy. However, some residents still clung to old stereotypes, dismissing certain workers as lazy or unmotivated. One such individual was Old Man Harris, a retired factory worker with a weathered face and a story full of toil. He would often sit on his porch reminiscing about days when he and his comrades toiled for long hours to earn a living. Despite his fatigue, Harris believed in the dignity of hard work, even if some labeled him as lazy in jest. The town's annual fair reflected its diverse history, showcasing crafts, inventions, and stories of immigrants. In one booth, a historian displayed artifacts from the labor movements that fought against exploitation and laziness. A young boy, Tommy, asked his grandma about the origins of these ideas about laziness. She responded gently, "Long ago, some people thought that if someone wasn't working all the time, they must be lazy." She pointed to a black and white photograph of a factory strike illustrating struggles for fair treatment. As the years passed, narratives shifted, and educational reforms introduced new perspectives on motivation and work ethic. The rise of the progressive era emphasized the importance of education and social support to combat supposed laziness. Despite advancements, misconceptions persisted, often fueled by media and popular stereotypes. The language of the time used phrases like idle rich or good for nothing to describe those who lacked ambition. Yet figures like Booker Washington challenged these ideas by highlighting the value of self-improvement. His speeches about perseverance inspired many in the African American community to strive against adversity. Stories from the frontier days also showed that survival depended on resilience rather than. Homesteaders faced harsh winters and predators, yet they persisted, turning wilderness into farmland. Indeed, the myth that laziness defined American character was constantly contested by these stories of grit. The city's newspapers enthusiastically reported discoveries of new inventions, hinting at a nation fueled by. Inventors like Thomas Edison symbolized the productive spirit that countered lazy stereotypes. At the same time, some critics argued that overwork and neglect of leisure could be harmful. Labor movements fought for reasonable hours and fair wages, emphasizing well-being over endless. Throughout history, language reflected these changing attitudes, with terms evolving to recognize mental and physical health. The modern American English debate about laziness continues, balancing productivity with self-care. Writers like Mark Twain poked fun at the idea, creating characters who defied lazy stereotypes in humorous ways. In his stories, the clever characters often outwitted those who dismissed them as lazy or unmotivated. Today, scholars study these narratives to understand how language shapes our perceptions of effort and. The rich history shows that the so-called laziness myth is more of a social construct than a universal. People from all walks of life demonstrated resilience, creativity, and perseverance, rewriting the story of what it means. In Samuel Clemens' satire, characters challenge societal views, revealing the absurdity of labeling individuals unfairly. The landscape of American history is dotted with figures and events that prove the myth false. From the struggling farmers to industrial tycoons, stories of effort and resilience fill the nation's past. The myth of laziness, long perpetuated in language and media, is gradually being replaced by a more nuanced. Modern dialogues about work ethics now consider mental health, societal support, and individual circumstances. Ultimately, history teaches us that everyone's path to success is shaped by many factors, not laziness. The vivid tapestry of America's past reveals that perseverance and innovation are the true legacies of its people. And so the myth of laziness continues to fade, replaced by stories of effort, struggle, and triumph that define the nation.